In this video, I would like to share some of my insights into the millennial tragedy and offer some solutions. The definition of a millennial is those people in the 18 to 36 age bracket in 2017. These are the snowflakes, children who were so precious that their parents would not let them walk to school alone. These are the young adults who now demand that the world pander to their every fear, their every whim, and their every emotion. Why? Because they're special. So how do they get to be this way? Let's start with cultural Marxism. To destroy the West, the cultural Marxists knew that they would need to destroy the family unit to control the schools and universities and the media. Now, in a family unit, the child is able to model both male and female characteristics. Typically, the mother demonstrates empathy and the father demonstrates boundary enforcement. In balance, this creates a child who is able to move through the world with confidence. But when the parents separate, they get imbalance in parenting style. In addition, the child learns that they can play the parents off against each other, unwittingly to their own detriment. Another factor that has contributed to the millennial tragedy is parental fear. Some years ago, I think it was the 1980s, in Australia and in America, there were cases of child abduction that got a lot of media coverage. The result was that parents became fearful of leaving their children unsupervised, so they started driving them to school, picking them up afterwards. And I spoke with a woman yesterday who told me that she got a phone call from her 18-year-old daughter at 4 a.m. asking mummy to pick her up. The mother told me that there's a lot of drugs and stuff out there, so I don't mind picking her up. And I thought to myself, what the expletive. The 18-year-old is not a child. If she wants to take drugs, have sex, get into crime, she could have done all of this by 4 a.m. How does playing taxi keep the child/young adult safe? At the center of this problem is the ego. So when a baby is born, it becomes the center of attention, not just because it's a beautiful human being, but because it's unable to take care of itself. When the baby is hungry, it cries. So, mummy or daddy comes running. When the baby is scared, it cries. Mummy or daddy comes running. By 2 years of age, the infant believes that it's the center of the universe. But all being well, another sibling challenges that. And at school, the child soon learns that there are other people in the world, apart from itself. And over time, the child learns to relate to other human beings in a more balanced way. Sometimes the attention is on self, and sometimes the attention is on other. But when the parents drive the child to school, when they pick the child up, when they drive the child to after-school activities, when the teachers constantly watch over the child, it reinforces the belief that the world is a dangerous place. The child is not capable of learning how to take care of itself, and that the child is the center of the universe. But now in some countries, it's virtually illegal to allow a child to play out in front of their own home. And a British commentator said that parents are chastised if their child is allowed to walk to school without adult supervision. It's like, what the? Now I started school in England when I was 4 years and 9 months old. Mum walked me to school for the first week. Then I told her that I could walk with my brothers. And after a couple of months, I walked to and from school by myself. This is at 5 years of age. I had to cross a main road, not without a few problems though. I remember walking into the side of a car on the crosswalk, but I learned from that and I moved on. And I remember slipping on ice on the same crosswalk. That hurt. And that could be the reason why I avoid walking on painted signs on the roadway today. Then we moved to Australia when I was 6. That dangerous land with more venomous snakes and spiders than any other country in the world. I used to walk half a mile with my brother to play in the bushland down by the Swan River. And after a while, I used to go by myself. I hitchhiked when I was 15. I got hit by a car. Okay. I took risks, but I'm better off for it. At 15, me and two other boys were dropped off at the edge of bushland by adults so that we could go bushwalking and camp for 2 days. It was dangerous, yet we survived. As an adult, I was equipped to bushwalk by myself. No one knew where I was. There was no mobile phone or GPS, just skills I had learned as a child. Sometimes I think we might be better off without the expensive rescue services that we have and just teach people that they need to take responsibility for self. But I digressed, so back to our conversation. There is nothing wrong with the child, but a lot wrong with the parents who believe their child does not have what it takes to live in the world. The parents fear the child may be abducted, and yet the child has a far greater chance of having an adverse reaction to a vaccine. And on the vaccine issue, once again, we see parental fear, the fear that the child's immune system may not learn how to deal with the dirt and the bacteria. So the well-intentioned parents go to extreme measures to protect the child. Yet in doing so, they smother the child. Some of the errors that parents and teachers made were, 1, to constantly remind the child that they were the most important person in the world. 2, that the child could have whatever they desired, no matter how unrealistic that might be. If you want to be a Hollywood movie star, of course you can. And number 3, and to give every child a prize. So why did they do that? Why give every child a prize? One reason I think is because the empathic teacher, might not be able to bear to see little Johnny feeling dejected for losing a race. But I think the real reason is because the cultural Marxists aim to destroy individuality. The cultural Marxists want everyone to be equally stupid. So when every child gets a prize, the child who put in a lot of effort doesn't get rewarded. Their efforts are discounted, so they become disincentivized. And the child who does poorly does not learn how to deal with disappointment, rejection, failure, and learn how to use that as feedback to access and mobilize inner resources and improve upon themselves. Now, there's a growing number of psychiatric disorders such as ADHD, and I saw some stats which show that the child brought up by a single mother is twice as likely to suffer from ADHD. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? And a social psychologist whose name I forget explained it like this. At dinner time, the child says, "Can I have some ice cream?" Mummy says, "Eat your peas and then you can have some ice cream." 2 minutes later, the child's eaten a couple of peas and says, "I've eaten some peas, now can I have some ice cream?" Dad says, "Not until you finish your peas." But the empathic mother says, "Oh, okay then." So the child is set a task to complete. The child gets part of the way through and then it gets the reward without having completed the task. So the child doesn't learn how to set an intent which drives their attention onto the task at hand such that they can focus in and concentrate. If the father is allowed to manage the conversation, he would insist that the child finishes the task before getting the reward. Now, for those of you who meditate, you would know that one of the simplest meditations is where you're given a task to watch the breath. When the mind wanders, you bring it back to the breath. Give someone like me that task, then I will make a decision to meditate at exactly the same time each day for a set period of time with the intent to sit absolutely still. But others who didn't have my type of upbringing have to go along to a meditation group and sit with others because they don't yet have what it takes to manage a simple task like watching the breath. And if parents just understood the power of meditation, they might make sure that their kids finished eating their peas before getting the ice cream. Now, my next point is that the cultural Marxists, with their so-called critical theory, have put the focus on minorities intentionally and on the so-called problems that the minorities face in an oppressive world. This creates a mentality in which the child learns to play victim, blame others, and not take responsibility for themselves. And when the millennial discovers that mummy and daddy are not there to take care of them, rather than sort the problem out for themselves, they rush to the teacher or to the government to create laws to protect them. So we get hate speech laws, 18C laws, political correctness, and safe spaces. Now, hate speech laws and political correctness are tools of the cultural Marxists to destroy the West. The millennials were taught to catastrophize, that is, to blow things out of proportion. They were taught to focus on feelings and ignore facts, to use mind reads, that is, to think that they know what someone is thinking or what motivates someone else without actually making any specific inquiries, and to call people names without having any substantive argument to back up their judgment. And ironically, one of the problems with being self-centered is that the millennial lacks self-awareness and project their failings onto others. Parents and teachers have smothered the millennials. Now the challenge is how to toughen them up so they can deal with the real world. If I can get enough interest, I might consider running a course for millennials entitled Toughen Up Kid. What do you reckon? Nah. Can you imagine a room full of millennials? They want to have content warnings, trigger warnings. And they'd cry as soon as you took their mobile phone away from them. And as soon as they got triggered, they'd be filing 18C complaints or some such shit, Just better let them suffer. And yet, on the other hand, I guess we have to do something, We've got to do something to toughen them up. You got any ideas? Please take a moment to like and subscribe, remembering to click on the bell. Then check the comments box below to join our team of patrons and crew. And you can always find me on Facebook at the Peace Mapping Group. The link is in the comments box. And once again, thanks and all the best to you.